What's up, everybody? Welcome to Own the Chaos. It is Thursday, October 8th. The stock market is doing stock market-like things, as you would expect during an election year 3 weeks away. Right now, the markets are kind of all over the place as where the stimulus talks are on, stimulus talks are off. Right now, they're off. Who knows what's going on, but we know how to own the chaos around here. Christian, what's going on, my man?
I like how you did that. We know how to own the chaos around here.
That's why we named it this channel, my man.
Nothing, man. We got some good stuff on the docket today. Obviously, everybody's talking about Penn, Domino's earnings this morning, IBM spinoff, McDonald's, Dollar General making moves, and I know your big topic is the Mercedes taking on Tesla. It's on, baby.
Yeah, so that's going to be probably one of the big topics for today. And just before we went live, we saw that Nancy Pelosi basically came out and said there will be no push for any kind of stimulus or aid for even the airlines unless an actual deal gets done. So that is why we're seeing some of the sell-off today. But as we have seen, even all just throughout this week, it's been very up and down, super volatile. We've told you guys this is probably going to be what's expected. So nothing should come as a surprise to any of you. I actually ended up locking out of most of my, or all of my JetBlue as I saw that news come out. Ended up making some decent profit on that in the public Webull account, which we'll show you here in a minute. But yes, first order of business is the Penn National sell-off. It's actually been selling off a lot harder than everything else. Even when the market was going up quite a bit this morning, Penn National continued to sell off on reports that there was yet another positive infection for the Tennessee Titans as far as the coronavirus is concerned. And Tom Pelissero came out with news basically saying the facility remains closed today and it's highly unlikely to reopen on Friday. Game Sunday versus the Bills still remains on as scheduled for now, but the NFL continues to evaluate the situation, and that caused the Penn National sell-off. What we know, typically what happens when that kind of news comes out is that Penn, all the other gambling stocks as it relates to sports betting do sell off. We saw DraftKings also selling off on top of the fact that they had a huge offering too, so that's just a double whammy for them. But historically, we see this happen. You buy the dip, and it ends up coming back. Everybody kind of just has that knee-jerk reaction, and we get to play off of the emotion of others and kind of capitalize on that. So that's something I'm not too worried about, but it definitely is concerning for the NFL as far as I'm concerned. My man, Fat Man Zoom. But, you know, I think it's just it's one of those things that's just super fluid, and I still think that it's not going to impact Penn National in the longer term, so I'm just going to continue to add to this. But what do you think about it?
Well, man, I can't wait. I was talking to my boy last week, and I was talking specifically about how the NFL thinks that rules don't apply to them. It's like kind of embarrassing.
Yeah.
And you could have seen this coming a mile away. They got the coaches got a ton of fines. They still didn't listen about wearing their masks. And like, doesn't matter what you think about it. It's the one sport. I think they've done the worst job as far as putting controls in place and putting precautions in place. And you compare something like the NBA, which shut down a whole freaking city.
Yeah.
You know, like it doesn't surprise me. And I don't know if you said this, but another player tested positive today. So the team, 23 players tested positive. They shut down the facilities, and the players decided to hold an informal workout the next day.
Oh my God.
That's what the reports are happening. It's like like a bunch of people test positive. The NFL's like, shut it down. And then the players get together. This is a microcosm of how this league works. I love football like the next person, but they're idiots. Like they're truly idiots. However, as shitty as it is, you know, hopefully this gets them checked. And so other teams start taking this more seriously. But you know, it's a tough situation. I don't see how they play this weekend. But that remains to be seen. I think this is an opportunity for Penn. It's a great opportunity for Penn.
I think so too. I mean, it's typical NFL, right? Because when it came to CET, concussion protocol, they just put that under the rug until enough people complained about it and enough people committed suicide to actually become a problem. And it's like,
CT.
and they keep just shooting themselves in the foot with this. It's like, why did you think that all of a sudden that you're going to be immune to it because nobody else? I mean, the NBA hasn't had a positive virus result in months, and it blows my mind. And there's even talk of or petitions, I guess, for the Titans to just forfeit this game because it seems as if they're just simply not following the rules.
Yeah, and there's many teams that haven't, and it's just unfortunate that this came back to bite them. So we shall see. But for Penn, this is a blip on the radar.
Yes,
there's so many other great things happening. I saw there's news that the casinos are seeing their first positive revenue month over month.
Yep.
So I think we're going to hear some news about that coming up for the larger casinos. So the industry seems to be moving in the right direction. There's still a long way to go. But actually MGM, which is one of our favorites, is holding up quite nicely on this news, which is a little bit of a surprise to me. But Penn, we've talked about Barstool Bets, is a huge opportunity for them. We have other sports and I think, again, I don't think that the NFL is going to shut down. However, if it did, that would be a huge blow, again, temporarily. So if you're able to hold on to this and manage the swings, you should be fine. This is a great opportunity. So I did add to it as well. I am almost full position size on it, but I'm just going to hang tight to see how this weekend plays out.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to continue to add to this too. If I'm just looking at the chart, and we'll show you guys this in a sec once we get through some of the news items here, is that it looks as if Penn has a really solid support around $62 a share right now. It looks as if for the time being,
my mind.
for the time being that it's at 65, and it kind of looks like it might be slowing down as far as the selling is concerned, but I really kind of want to see if it gets down to 62, and I'll be scooping up a bunch there. So it's just really good opportunities. We talk about it all the time, not chasing the stuff that just goes apeshit crazy, but looking at things that kind of get beaten down and just reacting on a specific event that doesn't really hurt the company in the long run. And so that's why I think that's going to be a good ad for Penn for sure. I know a lot of you guys in the Chaos Crew were asking about it, so I want to make sure that we got that out of the way right out of the gate. Speaking of which, I see some of my Chaos Crew folks in here. If you guys want to be part of the Chaos Crew, hit the join button. Those are all the people that are in the chat here. And what you get with the Chaos Crew is a daily watch list from us, so you can be prepared before the market opens. An hour before the market opens, I put out a daily watch list for all of our Chaos Crew peeps. We also put private live streams as well as access to my public portfolio through Webull. And you see those daily changes as well in the Chaos Crew. So you want to be a part of that? Hit the join button. Check the link in the description. We'd love to have you guys over. But what's up, Primetime DJs? I see you there, James McCrea. Melissa, what's going on? Melissa H. Philip Bryce. Todd Landon. Good to see you guys. Some familiar faces in here. Some new ones, too. What's up, Dawson? I know you're not new, but I was just saying what's up. Marcel Weirtz. I think you're newer, I believe. Jorge Gonzalez. See some people returning. So glad to have you guys back. Good to see you guys.
And Jorge, appreciate you committing with being, you said full-time and being a full-time job plus dad. Sorry, I can't speak today, but the great thing about the live streams is you can rewatch them. I know there's a little bit of FOMO, but it's better than what we were doing before video. So appreciate you being able to join us. And Steve King, I feel you on having Derrick Henry in your fantasy league. Brad, don't you have Derrick Henry on your team?
Yes. It's been a pain in the ass. Yeah, for sure.
Oh, man. But, it is what it is. The last thing I'll say about this topic, and then we can move on, is that in a way, it's actually good to know that there's a reason behind why another player tested positive. Like they just did something stupid. It wasn't like they separated. So at least if these teams start following protocols, they should be all right. So they should definitely forfeit. they should make them forfeit just on bonehead moves.
That's some bullshit, man.
But here's the thing, Primetime. One game, it's not that one game could cause this sell-off. It's the fear of what could happen beyond that.
Yeah.
It's the fear of shutting down the NFL, and whether you believe that or not. But, DraftKings just had their offering. It's just bad timing. And I know maybe you didn't think this, but I kind of thought that hurt the momentum of the stock a little bit for Penn. You know, DraftKings, not that they move hand in hand, but that can matter a little bit, especially because Penn also did a smaller offering a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. I mean, and obviously Penn's wasn't really too impactful as far as how it should look for the stock longer term. Not so much as DraftKings is, because DraftKings was a pretty massive offering. But yeah, I think when anything impacts the industry as a whole, you see these types of stocks get some movement one way or the other. So it looks as if Penn's trying to get trying to bounce here. We'll see. But yeah, moving on, one of the stocks we had for Stock Watch Sunday, which, by the way, if you guys are new to the channel, first of all, welcome. But we go live on Sundays as well to kind of prepare for the week ahead. Domino's Pizza was one on the Stock Watch Sunday list. We both said that they were going to beat earnings, and they didn't. Actually, they missed it quite a bit. It ended up selling off. But we also said that sometimes the reaction, whether it's good or bad, usually there's a pretty decent sell-off on Domino's. And sure enough, that's what happened. I actually ended up making an excellent entry on this thing. I cannot complain about where I was able to get in at $3.95. But yeah, Domino's, I was actually really surprised by the earnings miss, my man.
Yeah, so they reported $2.49 a share. Estimates were $2.79 a share. We both said $3.16 because I thought I was going to open up that Stone Cold Steve Austin can of whoop ass. Did not do that.
No.
But they did beat on revenue. So revenue was up nearly 18% year over year. So 953 million was the expectation. The estimate, it actually came in at 967 million. Good stuff. And I think you had said that you saw that one of the reports was just with the extra cost to COVID, just to like keep their stores sort of clean and straight. I don't know what I'm trying to say. You know what I'm trying to say.
No, yeah. I mean, it's just extra costs that are associated with the Rona to keep them open. Just safety precautions, all that things. And we saw that with Home Depot, a lot of the stores that have been keeping their doors open. Yeah. And Costco and all those. So it's definitely, it's impactful to the bottom line, and that's why we saw the earnings miss a little bit. But, I think one thing that we did point out for Stock Watch Sunday, and we always try to put these disclaimers out, is that earnings are just always a crapshoot anyway. And so you just have to know what you're doing going in or going out. And so, just looking at it from a in full perspective here, we kind of knew that there was more than likely going to be a sell-off just because of the insane run-up. But it's still very much within. I'm going to share my screen here with you guys. We're going to pull up values here real quick and kind of show you, if we go on the daily chart, there's still this really nice wedge that it's kind of hanging in. Even with this sell-off, it's still within this bullish wedge here. And I really still like it. I mean, that's why I kind of scooped some up and right at 395. If this ends up coming back down and bouncing off of this trend line, then I may end up even adding to it. I mean, I ended up just getting a starter for now, but may end up adding to it because those numbers, those increased revenue numbers were amazing. And I think that they'll figure out how to be a little bit more efficient as far as safety is concerned, especially when dealing with the Rona and all that. So I still like Domino's long term. I think grabbing here off of the sell-off was really kind of a gift.
Yeah, it's interesting, and we agree on a lot of things. I think that one of the interesting things where I don't want to say I disagree with you, but I have a little bit of pause. I was so close to picking it up, and I decided not to pick up Domino's. Here's why, and I wanted to get your feedback. So, Mr. DeSoto, you said you played earnings all wrong, but you'll do next on the earnings play. We talked about this.
Yeah,
we expected them to crush it. Like, we expected them to perform as far as the revenue numbers concerned. And we've said this time and time again, the market is a forward-looking vessel. And what we're really looking for is not a beat. That's cool. That's cool to predict that. But what we really look for is forward guidance. And the key thing with Domino's is that they didn't give guidance. And that's been a common pattern during the past 6 months, is like, that's going to hurt you. And so the reason why I didn't get it, because I think these are good levels, was more of like, will it move up? I'm not worried about how much further it can go down, but it already has, like, it averages about $500,000 of volume a day. It just doesn't, I don't know about like as much as a volatile mover. And so I would feel comfortable with my longer term account, but I'm just not sure if it's going to move up until they say, okay, here's what's going on in the store. Here's some guidance for our next earnings. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's definitely an argument that can be made for that. I think for me personally, I'm just looking at the numbers and I'm looking at, we're still very much in the football season, and it usually is a pretty good quarter for them. Even if they pull their own guidance, we've seen this from a lot of other companies that still ended up doing well. And even some of the bigger FANG stocks, Apple ended up pulling their guidance, not this past quarter, but the quarter before. So, I mean, yeah, it's definitely a cause for concern, but I don't think, for me personally, I still just look at the industry as a whole, and Domino's is on top. So, and from a technical standpoint, as long as I'm looking at it here and it still remains within this wedge, I still feel pretty bullish about it overall.
Well, going over to another hospitality stock, food stock, fast food stock, McDonald's reported sales numbers today.
Yep. And they did really well.
They did really well. And so they reported U.S. sales and international sales. So global sales fell 2.2% during the third quarter. But same store sales went up, I think it was 4.6%, almost 5%.
Yeah.
And so we've talked about this for a while. When we're talking about McDonald's, we talked about Starbucks and Chipotle shifting model to drive-through. They were almost built for what's happening post-pandemic.
Yep.
Regardless of we open back up, I think people's habits are going to change more towards drive-through, carry-out. That's just the reality.
Yeah.
So now we're seeing those numbers come in, and I think they're only going to continue. But that was positive news for McDonald's, who actually, they haven't really been performing that well over the past few months. So this hopefully could be some sort of catalyst, although you wanted to see a little bit better from the international numbers, but unfortunately they're saying that some of their stores had to reclose in other countries.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm sure that it'll be temporary. Hopefully, it's not for too long. But either way, it didn't seem to really impact the stock too much. It's still slightly green here, but it had a really nice positive reaction initially. And I think some of the sell-off is just due to the rest of the market selling off as well. But I mean, McDonald's is still crushing it, and I agree with you. The drive-through is definitely going to be what saves them. It's funny. I wish that Chick-fil-A actually ended up was a publicly traded company, because I'd be buying the hell. They had it figured out, from an efficiency standpoint, with not even just a drive-through, but the carry-out side of things too. Like, they just got it going on. Their apps are incredible. It would be awesome if they were publicly traded. Just a shout out in the Chaos Crew folks. Jorge also gave us a donation. Appreciate that, my man. Thanks for the support. And also, D. Leatherman has shown up in the Chaos Crew. Welcome. Happy to have you. And moving on to the IBM spinoff. And I'm going to let you lead this one off too, because this is one that you actually put in the Chaos Crew watch list this morning, and it has just taken the hell off.
Yeah, and I put it on the watch list not necessarily for people to buy, because it was up, as much as 13% pre-market. And right before open, I think it was around just below 6%. And we expected a little bit of profit taking on that. But I wanted people to keep an eye on this moving forward, because IBM is kind of like an old head, right?
Yeah.
Like, they're one of the OGs, but they've really not evolved, and that's been hurting them. But they have a new CEO, and he took over in April, and I really like him. He's been with the company for a while. He knows the company.
It's a hell of a time to take over a company too.
What'd you say?
This is a hell of a time to take over a company too.
I know, right? It's like, yeah, thanks for nothing.
Yeah.
But I love this move. This is a bold move, and I don't know if many CEOs would make waves this quickly, but this shows, in my mind. I'm sorry, let me tell you the news. So IBM is spinning off basically what they call their infrastructure services, and they're spinning that off into another company, and they're really trying to position IBM as a cloud services company. And everything they're saying is right as far as like those hot topics.
Yeah.
And so we don't know exactly what it's going to be. This isn't going to go through till the end of 2021. But to me, this is a sign of things to come. And it's awesome because they need to be in the cloud space.
Yeah.
You look at the NVIDIAs of the world, the Microsofts of the world. Microsoft is probably the best example, did something similar where they shifted more to that cloud space. And so what's promising is that he realizes it, he makes a move right now, really early. And so I don't think this is the first move we're going to hear from IBM. I think there's going to be more things to come. So this is pretty cool that he did this.
Yeah, and the thing of it is that IBM's been such a giant for so long, and the reason being is because they've been able to figure out how to pivot when it's necessary to do so. And this is just another strong example of that. And I actually talked about this morning with our folks in the mentorship as well, that 130 seemed to be an area where it could potentially pull back to, and it looks like that actually ended up happening and has settled out really nicely to become its new support there at $130 a share. So really positive things looking forward for IBM. And I mean, I like it a lot. It looks really, really good sitting here at these levels.
Yeah. And speaking of companies making moves, the stock that maybe is not that sexy, but that had showed up last month was Dollar General. They as well are making moves. And I want to bring up, there's a few things that they're doing. Now, they've been doing really well. And if you can, do you have the chart up, or if you can pull the chart up?
Yes, sir.
One of the things that they talked about was, obviously it's hard to keep pace in these revenues because they've been reporting really, really strong numbers. So they're kind of tempering expectations about revenue growth. They still see positive revenue, but maybe not this rate of growth. However, they're really focusing on their bottom line and increasing margins. So they have a new line, a new focus, which is the line of like perishables. I think it's called like DG Fresh, which is perishables and high margin household goods. So that's all good stuff. Those are the things we want to hear. More importantly, they announced plans for a new concept called Pop Shelf. And all Pop Shelf is Dollar General's version of Five Below. So 95% of their products are $5 or less. And they're trying to target, I think the dollar stores have a little bit of a negative connotation, or like a poor quality connotation, where Five Below has a little bit of a better quality connotation to it. So that's really what they're going after. And to be honest, I'm surprised nobody really is talking about this, but they have 2 locations that they're going to open up in the fall in Tennessee, and they plan to have 30 locations of this Pop Shelf by the end of 2021.
Yeah, and you can see how the market's reacting right now, and really kind of in a time where we're living in, where you have let's just call it what it is, a recession. People are looking for ways to save money or buy things on the cheap. Dollar General is actually playing into that very nicely as well. We just got done talking about how IBM has been pivoting, and this is kind of Dollar General's version of that. And, the companies that are going to do this sort of thing, that kind of see the market for what it is and see the economy looking at things as far as forward looking is concerned, what are people going to be looking to? They're going to be looking to the stuff that they can actually afford. And so from the majority of Americans, they're going to look at Dollar General and say, okay, well, I don't, to your point, looking at the dollar store and that sort of thing, it's all cheap stuff. And I mean, I wouldn't be caught dead buying food from a dollar store, but Dollar General seems to be a little bit more reasonable. So it makes a lot of sense. There's huge potential here for even more revenue on Dollar General's side. We already saw them crush the last quarter's earnings. Be interesting to see how they do this quarter, and then also the quarter after this is all executed and implemented from the Pop Shelf side of things. I think this is a huge move for Dollar General. And, right now it seems to be a bit overextended, but I could definitely see a pullback. Maybe it's around 216, maybe try and fill that gap as well. But this looks great. If you guys are looking for something that's good long-term stock to kind of just hang on to, that's been able to not only survive, but thrive through the Rona and all of the recession, this is definitely a good one. And they're just continuing to kind of innovate and pivot in ways that's going to, improve things for the company as a whole after they've already done so well through all of this BS.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know it's not sexy when you're with your boys and your homies hanging out and you're talking about your stocks. It's not as sexy as saying like Penn or Tesla or Amazon. I know I know, like Dollar General,
Right.
but it's fundamentally it's a great stock.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about this. This was one of those stocks that we talked about in September when they had their earnings about it being unsexy September. This is one of those stocks that fell in line with that mantra. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely a good company. If you're looking for something to just kind of hang into that you're not going to have to really worry all that much about, it's definitely a good one to be hanging on to. Moving on to our biggest topic of the day, and that is a Tesla contender. Electric, the popular
Well, let's start that over again. Let's try that again.
What? Electric?
Go ahead. Start over again.
Yeah, you done fuck me up.
Take two.
So anyways, Electric is a popular media outlet for anything EV. They talk about Tesla stuff all the time. They reported today that Mercedes has come up with their new EQ lineup, which is their electric vehicles, and now boasting a potential 750-mile battery or 750 mile per charge battery system that raised a lot of eyebrows. And it doesn't look like any of the Tesla investors are really all impacted by this, but this is some pretty big stuff. And they do have this in production. It looks like they're doing a lot of testing on it. That 750 mile per charge is a huge deal, especially when we're looking at Tesla, and the longest range that we've been able to see from them so far in production has been 500 miles. So this is going to be a big deal. I mean, we've talked about, Tesla facing competition, and Mercedes isn't, it's not like we're looking at something like a Nikola, right? Or we're not looking at something like, Fisker, where they're just starting out and maybe trying to find people to collaborate with. This is an established company that's coming out with a serious battery, and this could, pose a problem for Tesla down the line. The only hang up for me, though, is that they have no production date. So we have no idea when this is coming out, but we've seen the test vehicles that are out and about riding around in Germany. And, it appears as if this could be a reality.
Yeah. It PR wise could impact Tesla short term, but again, I don't think this is material. I think that, first of all, more players in the game helps Tesla, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because we need people, they want people converted to EV. So having more people, like, competition's always good. I feel good about competition, but there's just enough to go around, in my opinion. And so I'm not worried about that. And 750 miles, that is pretty awesome. And I expect, Tesla's range to continue to increase. And this, I'm sure they were already thinking about that. Elon even alluded to it when he was talking in the battery day, but they're going to continue to increase that. That isn't the only factor as far as when you're considering these EVs. And the other thing, I imagine Mercedes kind of, they focused on the high end, where Tesla, they have high end, but they're actually shifting, with the $25,000 vehicle, they're shifting to a different segment as well. So luxury, high end, I imagine Mercedes is going to stay in that space. And so I don't think long-term, this is anything that if I was in Tesla, I'd worried about. I'd be like, yeah, let's get more people in it. And let's see who comes out on top.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting for sure. And I like the point that you made as far as Tesla kind of shifting and looking towards making more affordable vehicles, but still maintaining their high end stuff as well. I mean, imagine if they had a $25,000 vehicle that did end up doing 750 miles is worth of range. So this is interesting. I think that Mercedes kind of coming in here and making that kind of bold statement, it's different than some of these speculative ones saying that they're going to do this and do that. But Mercedes has a reputation to live up to. So I don't think that they would be making statements like that if they weren't serious about it. But yeah, I think it'll still remain to be seen. And honestly, if anybody thinks that Tesla's going to just take up the entire market share, I think that we're a little bit short-sighted in that regard. So I would definitely think that there's going to be some impact as far as competition is concerned, but I don't think it really hurts Tesla in the long run. And I don't think there's any reason to be worried about that. Had a lot of people asking about Tesla here over the last couple of days, especially since it's been so volatile. And I'm like, I'm not selling a damn thing. I mean, we're leading up to earnings here. Earnings are at the end of the month. I think it's going to do really, really well. and could potentially cross the 500,000 vehicle mark for 2020. And that's going to be huge for Tesla. So no worries for me here as far as Tesla's concerned, but definitely interesting to kind of just point out that there are car companies that are really trying to make strides, even though they're still pretty far behind.
Yeah, that's true. And I'm glad you mentioned numbers because just like we talk about earnings and guidance in the future, announcements are great and they could provide little boosts. But when it's really going to matter is people are going to want to see how it's selling.
Yeah.
So how many are sold? And we're far away from figuring out how many Mercedes EVs are sold. And so that's just time for Tesla to continue to extend their lead. But what do you say we get into some questions?
Yeah, real quick though, let me go ahead and just let everybody know how the portfolio is doing. So for those of you who are part of the Chaos Crew, especially if you're in the level 2 category, you guys know that I update you with my portfolio, my public portfolio here via Webull. If you guys are interested in Webull, it's a really great platform. They have all kinds of cool features. If you're interested in that and you want to get 2 free stocks, click the link down in the description below. You can be a part of that. And just kind of give you a synopsis of what's going on. I actually closed out of my entire JetBlue position once I saw the Pelosi news, ended up locking in some profit. One cool thing about Webull as well is that you can actually compare yourself to the rest of the market. So you can see that this portfolio so far has done about 7% since September. And I'm actually encouraged by this only because, I actually started this account in probably the worst time. It was when the worst time of the market was the September. Everything was just selling off pretty much the entire month, but was still able to come out on top and doing actually pretty well. The S&P 500 is at 0.39%, whereas the portfolio itself has been doing 7%. So I'm pretty encouraged by that. We start to see some pretty good months here leading into the end of the year. I think that this account's going to really do extremely well. So really happy with the way this has been growing. And so if you guys want to see this every day, see the trades that I've been making in this account, click the join button, be part of the Chaos Crew, and you get to see that at the end of every single day. Bratz ended up donating to the channel. Thanks, man. Appreciate the love, brother. $20. That's awesome, man. All right. Yeah. So let's get into some questions.
Wealth redistribution. Yeah. Donate to the 99%. Appreciate you. All right. So looks like things are starting to come back. Let's talk about a few things we got going on before I dance on people's graves. You guys know what's coming.
What you got
Eric
for
Scarl.
me?
What's up, Eric? Is there a chart with candles pre and post market, which I know I use TradingView, and if you click EXT, which stands for extended hours, it'll show up. The candles will show up there.
Yeah, you can see this on Webull. So this column that's kind of shaded a little bit lighter blue, and then you have this darker blue. So anything that represents in the lighter blue is after hours and pre-market. You can actually select that by picking extended too. So you can see how they disappear here. Just click it, and then there you can see pre-market and after hours trading as well. So it's actually kind of cool to signify it with the nighttime and the daytime. So cool.
There's usually some button you have to click. Mike Hudson said, money is always sexy. What do you mean? I know, right? Yeah, money is sexy.
True.
D. Leatherman. Oh, nice. Had to try and stay involved somehow. The content in the community is too good to go without. Glad I could grab a live stream. Appreciate having you here.
Thank you, my man.
So Savage Ray, what's up? All right. So Hope asked a question. If you had to choose one stock for near future percentage growth, which do you think performs better, Penn or Rocket? Very interesting.
Ooh, man, that is a tough question. Man, I think I got to go with Rocket on this one. Only because it's been down so much, and Penn's already made some really huge moves. So I think that the larger potential for growth, but probably also carries its own inherent risk, has got to be Rocket. We've already seen some really great moves from Rocket, even today. It's been a struggle trying to get it up over that 23.40 mark. It actually went up there and got rejected from there again today. But if we can get it up over $23.50, it should make a really strong move. So I think that Rocket probably has more potential to make higher gains than Penn does at this point.
Hey, Brad.
What up?
How did Rocket do today?
I see a bunch of boner candles on my chart right now.
Woo, I'm dancing on your graves, people. I've been telling you. I can't help what Pelosi does. We were well on our way. But listen,
we were.
I mean, Penn can move, and as they enter into new markets, they just as Barstool enters into new markets with the Barstool bets, they just enter into Pennsylvania. They will do better. They will do well.
Yeah.
But it's Rocket. It's Rocket.
Yep.
So, but you know, honestly, you can't go wrong with either one. I think there's huge upside to Rocket, and
it's got Rocket in its name, for crying out loud.
And yeah, it's like it's just meant to shoot off.
I see IMA saying I bought Rocket during this live stream. Hope it tanks out of spite. He's always giving you a hard time.
Who said that?
IMA, whatever his name is.
Oh. Well, hey, listen, I don't know why you bought it now, because we've been talking about it forever. So you should have been in around $20, if not below.
Yeah.
But you'll be all right if you hold on to it. All right. So the next question we have is about Luckin. Got a little lost here.
Oh, God. So here's the thing about Luckin Coffee.
Luckin?
Yeah, it's a Chinese coffee company. And if you guys recall what happened to this before, their company cooked the books. And it went from, what was it? Close to $100 a share? Was it at 100? No, it wasn't. I'm sorry. It was at like 51.38 were the highs. And then it gapped all the way down and essentially became a penny stock at that point. Came all the way down to 95 cents within days. And it is still a turd. I don't care what happens with Luckin Coffee. You can't pay me to own this stock. Not going to happen. So I know there's a lot of hype surrounding around it over the last couple of days. Not a shot in hell I'd be owning the stock.
All right. Jason Padilla asks your thoughts on Chegg, earnings report at the end of the month, online school, students need assistance. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, look, we've seen some resurgence in the Rona, especially with increased cases. And so with that being said, we've seen, in-class learning kind of go by the wayside. So Chegg's very much still in demand, and I think their earnings are going to do really well. And it's been pretty reflective. I think a lot of people are feeling the same way, especially since the end of September, and we've seen such a huge move on it already. If you're looking to get into it right now, I would say hold off, maybe see if it comes back down a little bit. But, it would be tough to see a situation in which they don't beat earnings and they don't see increased demand and increase their outlook as well.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Next question is, a lot of people jumped in Domino's today under 400. Nice job. Good entry.
Hell yeah.
Ema asked, sold Tesla yesterday. How is it doing today?
It's kind of just chilling. It's been pretty sideways for the most part all day. We look at the 5-minute chart here, and it is coming down a little bit with the rest of the market, but it hasn't really moved all that much. It's been kind of flip-flopping around between 435 and now sitting here at 428. So not too much to be overly concerned about. It's just kind of moving with the market right now. But, I would be looking to potentially add to this if it comes back down to around 415 or maybe even $400 a share. If it came to $400, I almost kind of hope it does, so I can just get some shares down there. Because leading up to the earnings, I think this is going to really do well. 450 will be almost kind of, I don't know. I think it'll just blow right past 450 leading up to earnings.
What's up, Antonis Caramalegos? Nailed it. Damn, so much better than last time. Is AMD worth getting into now? They dipped after their event.
So they had a pretty good event, a lot of positive news out of that. I would say that, yeah, this is probably coming down to a really good area to add some. I would look to see if it comes back down. It's as low as 85 before getting in, but I mean, you're only $1 away from there. So you want to work your way into a position? Looks like a pretty decent spot.
Nice. Next question. Sorry, I'm trying to filter through this.
Sorry, we got 300 folks in here, though. We only got 48 likes. If we could get those up, I would appreciate it, guys.
Melissa H. asked, does anyone know why DocuSign sold off today?
Let me see. Let's see if we have any news on this.
Savage said, so many opportunities. Papa wants to go shopping.
Yeah, I know, right? I got plenty of cash to spend here, too. I'm just chomping at the bit. There's so many things I want to buy. It's just figuring out what. So, yeah, DocuSign looked like it sold off pretty sharply. No reason as to why that I can think of, but it sold off for the first part of the day and then had a huge bounce, and then Pelosi did her thing and then tanked with the rest of the market, sitting here at 221. I told folks in the did I not nail this? And Christian can back me up on this. I said 218 this morning in our mentorship would have been where I'd look to grab it. It came out to 218.12 before bouncing, and now it's sitting at 221. I still like 218. I think it's a good spot. So if you can look to see, get some docu there, I think that'd be a good place to grab some.
James McCrea asked, when do you think MGM will hit $24 again?
Oh man, MGM, that elusive $24 spot has been a tough cookie for MGM. We look at this on a daily, and you can see where it just repeatedly has gotten beaten down at that $24 mark. It'll be interesting to see how this moves. I think that any kind of positive news as it relates to the Rona, be it a vaccine, some sort of recovery, we're seeing a slowdown in infection rates, all that good stuff. That's when we're going to see MGM really start to make a move, and I think it goes up above $24. We've been talking about this since $12.50. I've been saying it's buy since $12.50. So I still think that MGM's a good one to hold on to. You're just going to have to be patient with it.
So McTagg said Pizza Hut filed bankruptcy. But I think that actually it's a couple months old. I think that's been known for a while, although maybe we've known about it, maybe actually technically filing it went through, but
well, the thing
that
is,
was back in August.
The thing is with Pizza Hut is that a lot of their revenue is based off of the dine-in experience, whereas Domino's is strictly carry out or delivery. So that's the main difference between those two. So it's not really an apples to apples comparison.
Yeah, for sure. Ab Yoga, how are you going to call Rocket a turd? The turd went off? No, that's a beautiful baby. That stock is a beautiful, beautiful baby. But asking about Beyond Meat, just saying things have been going off. Beyond Meat has been moving very well.
Yeah.
But you're not a big fan of Beyond Meat.
That's an understatement. It's overbought right now. I mean, literally over the last week, it's just done nothing but go straight up. It came down to this cup and handle pattern and just went the hell off. So huge technical move on this thing, but we haven't seen these kind of levels since its IPO. I don't know, man. There's no way I'd be buying it up here at $200 a share. You got to be out of your mind.
Yeah, the thing, just as fast as it moves up, it moves down.
Yep.
As quickly, if not more.
Yeah.
All right. So LRN, this is another education play. Feel like a huge breakout is near with schools shutting down on the East Coast and Midwest. Crush earnings last time and is projected for negative earnings, which seems like a huge joke. And Landon L.
Yeah, I mean, we just talked about Chegg, and I think there's definitely a case that could be made for LRN, but I would say that Chegg is a better company. I mean, they have a much wider reach, not just in primary schools, but in colleges as well. So I think that LRN probably lags behind them a little bit, and the larger market share goes to Chegg and really Zoom. I mean, we haven't talked about Zoom today. We haven't talked about Zoom in a while. And when I say a while, probably a week or two, but I really still like Zoom. Zoom plays into that education space as well. So looking at those two, and I know that LRN's more attractive because it's cheaper, but there's a reason for that. So that's kind of my thought process on that. If I'm going to go with something in this space, I'm going to go with a better company, and that's going to be Chegg and even Zoom.
Gotcha. So this is interesting. Negative earnings seems like a joke. Yes. And so I guess I'm trying to play both sides of this. So they reported earnings in beginning of August or mid-August.
Yep.
And so one could potentially argue that maybe they didn't realize how long it was going to stay in effect as far as maybe they thought schools were going to open back up. Some schools did, some are hybrid, whatever. That's a fair point. One thing to consider, Landon, is that they lost their largest client. So I think that's also tied into it.
Yeah.
And that has taken a huge hit on the stock, and it'll obviously hit in somewhat on their financial. So I think it's moved down a lot. So maybe maybe that's done. Maybe it's found bottom. Just consider that it wasn't just that a school issue. Actually, there was something material that happened. So bear in mind that. All right, what do we got next? Amazon. Nice. Ben's is huge in Europe. You're right. Walgreens wouldn't be as big without CVS.
CVS has been doing well, by the way. I just want to shout that out. I want to give everybody give ourselves a pat on the back because we had top 10 stocks to watch in October, and every single one of them has been crushing it. CVS being one of them, and we talked about this breaking out of this trend, and sure enough, it did, and it's continuing to climb and looking really, really good.
Man, I almost nailed the bottom on that one.
Yeah.
Because I remember you saying I need to see the trend reverse, and I think it was like right there.
Yep.
That little green candle. All right, Zero Blocks. Came across BHF Bright House Financials today. It seems quite intriguing based on its recent moves. Any thoughts as far as the charts go?
I'm not sure about this company as a whole or what they're really associated with, but looking at the chart, it doesn't look all that great. It's been really sideways, kind of choppy. For me, I think just based off of the chart and looking at the technicals, I would say it'd have to break up over 32.65 for me to really kind of say that, yes, this is actually starting to make some really decent moves. But I'm not sure what's going on with them materially as far as that's concerned, and why I would look to consider maybe holding on to it for any length of time. But from a technical perspective, does look relatively decent if it can break up over around 32.65.
Shane Haley, renewable energy stocks have had a decent run lately. Are there any green energy stocks you like leading into the election?
It's funny that you mentioned that because Don Fran show has been talking about TAN and was going to get to this a little bit later, but this thing has been going the hell off. And so solar has really just been at the forefront here, especially leading up to the election. I would think that and I think this is just an emotional reaction that may happen if, we see Trump get reelected, we could see a decent pullback, but it doesn't change the fact that demand is huge in this space. It's just been tough to find specific stocks as far as this is concerned, to find good quality ones, because this is kind of like in that same vein of, when weed stocks really started to hit. And so you had so many of them, but they had to take on loads of debt, and most of that was convertible debt. And so even though they would have monster revenue and really great demand, they just couldn't get out of their own way with convertible debt. TAN, by the way, is an ETF that has just continually been going off. I would say that this could be a good one that you could just get into if you're looking for it to just get into this space. And it's rare that I actually talk about ETFs, but in a space where you just don't know which companies are good ones and which ones aren't because there's so many of them, this could be a good ETF to get into. I would wait for this to come back down, though. I don't know if I see it coming back down to $50 a share as I look at this daily chart and see that that's really the only spot that I see for legitimate support. But wait for some sort of pullback because I think it will happen.
Ian Allen asks, what's up, fellas? You're expecting a market sell-off for tomorrow?
That's a good question. I don't know. I would say, I got myself into some pretty decent amount of cash, and I did that for good reason. And that reason is just because of the volatility. I've been kind of taking profits a little bit early on some things, and I think just because of as choppy as it's been. So I would just say hold on to some cash. If you don't have any already, then take some profit on some of the stuff that you're in, because I think it might be worth it, especially on Fridays. Characteristically, there's no scientific fact or reasoning behind this, but usually there's a theory that on Fridays you see a decent sell-off because lots of people don't like to hold over the weekends and that sort of thing. So look for some bargains.
John Carlos Scalia, why do you think Apple and Amazon are just laying flat?
So and a lot of this has to do with the bill or the sentiments in Congress, and Amazon, Apple, Facebook, and I actually ended up grabbing some Facebook yesterday and this morning, notifying our Chaos Crew folks of that. And the reason being is because they, came out and were basically saying that they are monopolies, they need to be broken up, there's some trust issues, all this other stuff. So that's why they haven't really moved as much as the rest of the market. But I think their time's coming. And actually, I'm looking at Facebook, and the reason that I bought down here is because I just thought it was a joke. coming down here, I actually ended up getting my initial entry at 256 and then averaged in and sitting at 258 right now. I'm planning to add to this if this ends up coming back down to the 250 mark. As you can see, it's a pretty solid support for it. But these companies have earnings coming up in the next couple of weeks, and I expect them to absolutely crush it. And that this sentiment that's looming around them has just been a sentiment that we've seen for forever, for years. And so I think this is going to blow over eventually. And because there's no way they're going to break them up. It's just not going to happen. There's not going to be enough support, I don't think, from the grand scheme of things. And I think this is just a temporary blip. And Facebook, Amazon, Apple, they're all going to continue to do well, especially leading into this last quarter.
Yeah. Tan is awesome. GAN. Asking about GAN. I can't find the question, but I know somebody asked about it.
GAN. I think that's a penny stock, isn't it? Let me see.
40 ND UK.
Oh, it's not a penny stock. This is one, though, that just IPO'd in the springtime. This is a huge mover back then. If I'm not mistaken, don't they do something along the lines of like testing and surveillance and stuff like that? I think that's what goes on with them. But it looks like they've had some really rough times over the summer and kind of leading into the fall. I don't know. I think it'll just kind of depend. It might be a little bit of a waiting game. I'm not sure about how much they are as far as fundamentals are concerned, but I think it's just one to watch. They don't really have a really nice looking pattern here at all that can really kind of identify a whole lot.
So this is a SaaS company focusing on online gaming, iGaming, and online sports betting apps. So it sounds like a Barstool Bets, a BetMGM type company.
And they just work. I see that like they work with Wynn Resorts and that sort of thing. I mean, there's definitely some potential value here. The timing might just not be right for them. If you were looking for a reasonable area, I could make the argument that maybe around $17 a share could be a spot where I would look to grab if you could see a bounce there.
Dawson Schreiner's asking early prediction for Penn earnings at the end of the month.
Oh, that's a good question. So Penn did announce that they have earnings coming up October 29th. And that was something we forgot to mention beginning of the show, but I think that they're going to do really well. We've already seen increased activity as far as that's concerned. Barstool Bets app came out last week or week before, and I think the earnings are going to do really well. I think we probably end up seeing a run, which is why I'm not worried about today and just continuing to add where I see there's good opportunities to do so.
Yeah, that number, I mean, as we get closer, it'll be one of the stocks on our Stock Watch Sunday. But just glancing at the estimates, it's going to be a tough beat. But we'll see as we do more research, and that'll definitely be on Stock Watch Sunday leading up to it. Thanks, Dawson. Ab Yoga sold out of Fastly yesterday at 120. What do you think is a good re-entry? Do you think it stays above 110?
First of all,
big shout out for introducing me to the stock.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've been talking about Fastly since $30 a share, if you can believe that, back in April and May. And I said that we were going to see $100 a share out of this thing. I didn't quite expect to see the kind of movement that we've seen over in the last several weeks. And so selling out of this when you did, I think, was a really smart decision. This is just too hot right now. I love me some Fastly. I think that they're a great company, and I absolutely think that they deserve to be up here at some point. I think that just getting up here too fast is just kind of what's going on at this point in time. And you can see that's selling off pretty decently as well. If we go and look at an intraday chart here, you can see that it's finally looking to cool off. As far as re-entries are concerned, if I come out to a 30-minute chart, I can see that 116 seems to be where it's settling out at. So that could potentially be a re-entry. If it can't hold that, though, look for it to come back down to maybe even 100 flat, 103. That's kind of where I would be like, all right, it's time to start buying this up. I'm not quite sold on it just yet.
Savage Ray says, Fulkin Tesla and Forgotten Glory. Any thoughts on BAC, Bank of America?
So the banks, it'll be interesting because we got earnings coming up from all of them next week, and be on the lookout for some of those to show up on Stock Watch Sunday this coming week. But Bank of America is always a good one to kind of hang on to. It's actually been doing really well over the last several days. Just be careful with this though, because they really do react to the election and some of the news that goes along with that. So there might be some good buying opportunities. I wouldn't buy it all the way up here. Just look to see if there's a dip or so, and then really kind of leading up to earnings to see what that looks like. I'm not sure how it's going to look like. We have, increased real estate. Obviously, it's going crazy, so there might be some positive news as far as that's concerned on the revenue side of things. So it may end up doing well. Just look for other areas, because I think right now it's a little bit too high for me to be buying into. I don't know if I'd feel comfortable getting into it all the way up here.
Yeah, and segueing into election EMAS, guys, have you thought of any what if COVID spikes trades, or what if Biden wins trades? Putting those on my watch list. And email likes ENPH if Biden wins.
Yeah, so I don't know about ENPH, but as far as a spike increase in Rona spikes, we looked at things that are actually Corona related. We look at stuff like Zoom, Clorox, all the ones that really kind of did well when the Rona first started. So looking at stocks like that, and as far as the Biden, if Biden wins, I don't know if it really matters what you get into. I will say that I was a little discouraged from the tax plan that was announced from last night's debate, that 0.2% per transaction and, per trade is what they're kind of proposing. That would suck. So I'm not saying that would happen, and they'd have to obviously get it passed through Congress and everything else. But that'd be terrible. 0.2% per trade. So and that's unrealized or not. So if you just buy something, you're going to have to pay 2% of whatever you get in. So like that sucks. And then 2.2% when you get out. Hopefully that doesn't happen, but I think that would be really impactful if it did. But as far as any particular stock, if Biden wins, I don't think that would really matter. Maybe going after clean energy, that sort of thing, going after that sort of sector could end up actually making some pretty decent moves. Tesla could probably stand to benefit from that as well, but I think Tesla stands to benefit no matter what. So, looking in those areas probably would be something that I may consider.
Bruce Uthis asks, is Domino's going down more? Should I wait to add?
Is Domino's going down more? It could. I mean, and that's why I decided to just get a starter here. So I actually ended up putting in a limit order on Domino's this morning at $395.86. That's where I ended up getting filled at. So far, it looks like it was a pretty decent entry. It is selling off a little bit leading into the later parts of today. We'll just have to see. I mean, like I said in the beginning here, and what we've been talking about with Domino's as a whole, looking at the daily chart, it's still within this bullish pattern here. So as long as it remains in that, I'm still going to remain bullish on Domino's until it actually breaks out and tells me otherwise.
Yeah, Wayne, we talked about the Penn sell-off earlier, Rona cases. So you can go back and watch the recording, scroll back to the beginning. It was one of the main topics. So Griffin Garrett, what's going on, Griffin? What do you guys think about FMCI?
FMCI? Forum Merger Group. Is this a SPAC? Yes, it is. I don't know who's merging in with them. It says Tattooed Chef. Maybe. I have no idea. If you look at the chart, though, it's a little all over the place. This would be something that I wouldn't necessarily get into, especially as volatile as things are in the overall market. Usually I try to tell people to stay away from anything that's too speculative, especially given the climate that we're in right now.
Got it. Yeah, it's the company's Tattoo Chef that it's supposed to reverse merge into. Okay, so next question. Ian says I wouldn't touch Beyond Meat or their stock. Yep. Super Dip Sucker. That's probably not how you say it, but I like it. And it sounds like a wrestling name. Super Dip. Been tempted to get in on Boeing. Had a nice drop this week with a lower demand forecast. Had upward trajectory before and after. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I had some good news with Alaska Airlines today that I saw, but I still don't like Boeing right now. The only way that I see Boeing move up is with stimulus. And even then, it's like, I don't know if I really feel all that comfortable getting into Boeing until they get their max air bullshit situated.
Primetime DJ Cash, I didn't pay him to say this, but Cash gets credit for Rad. Yeah, Rad Rite Aid did a move.
Sure did.
We knew it was going to stay, but it wasn't going to stay below 10.
Sure did. Made a really nice move after those crazy earnings. And we said anything below $10 a share would be a steal. But yes, Fat Man Zoom was a huge proponent of that and looking really good, sitting at 10 and a quarter. That's for sure. So if you guys are able to scoop some down on the cheap, you're sitting pretty.
I appreciate you all, because then Dawson right after says Fat Man Zoom needs a when I was right for Big C. Hell yes. I mean, that's going to be my big win for the month is Big C, because they are kicking ass.
Yeah. Yeah, this thing.
I hope you guys got into that, because I know people were asking.
A monster. This is yet another one that we have for the top 10 stocks for October. And this wasn't actually even really on my radar all that much. Fat Man Zoom brought this one to the table, and it has been killing ever since.
Yeah, it has been. And there, I don't know. I feel like something's coming. So I can just feel it in my bones.
Hopefully it does. We got 370 people in here, 105 likes. Certainly would appreciate the thumbs up, guys, if you want to continue to support the channel. And again, if you want to be part of the Chaos Crew, if you're not already, hit the join button. Would love to have you guys hang out with us.
Vedant Sengar, what do you all think about Next Era Energy, NEE?
Well, certainly wouldn't buy it now. It's just done nothing but go straight up over the last 7 days straight. I don't think I would touch this. It's too hot. Wait for it to come back down. See if it hits around 285. It's at $300 a share right now. Give it some time.
By the way, this is totally off topic, but I didn't know that Tesla, when they sent out the SpaceX in 2018, they put a Roadster on that freaking rocket.
You didn't know that? Oh, yeah. That was like a big thing when that happened. Everybody lost their mind. It's still sitting up there.
Reason number 2027, why did it like Tesla's the shit? Or Elon, not Tesla.
Yeah, he don't give a fuck, man. He just strap a car to a rocket and throw it into space. And there's like a makeshift dude sitting in the driver's seat, like an astronaut sitting in the driver's seat.
Yeah, Don said longer term I like Boeing. Yeah, longer term I think not most of the airlines, but any of the solid companies like that. Boeing's not going anywhere.
No.
So if you have a longer time horizon, we've said this multiple times, Southwest, Delta, the solid ones, if you're willing to wait around, you'll be fine. You'll be fine.
Yep.
So put it in your long-term portfolio. So yes, I didn't. Some people did not know that. Sorry. Sorry. Good. Did you say an entry for Big C? Primetime DJs was asking.
I did not give an entry for that. We kind of already gave our entries, and then the move happened. I don't know if I would just wait. If there is some sort of pullback, perhaps maybe somewhere around 90. $85 probably is an area that I would look for. So I don't know. We kind of talked about that being an entry before. I just don't know if it comes back down to those levels. Just wait for a pullback. I wouldn't chase it though.
Oh, software. Okay.
We don't chase boners around here.
We don't. That's got to be a hat or a shirt. John, yeah, we've had some people having issues to upgrade to level 2. And I guess it's just a YouTube thing. I hate to give a shitty answer like that, but
one thing that I've seen people do is that like they just discontinue and then sign back up under level 2. So I've seen that. That might be the way to go.
Okay. Chad Fair, ORLY, O'Reilly is having a decent day and looks to be moving back up. I haven't put on the watch list. I won't, but I'm telling you, AutoZone is at a good spot. That sucker's going to move in a minute now.
Yeah. What was that? ORLY?
Yeah, ORLY.
Yeah. I mean, and we've talked about why these are moving, and people aren't taking mass transit as much. And so they're resorting to buying used cars. And what happens with used cars is that, they end up usually needing to be fixed. So this is why AutoZone and O'Reilly's have been in pretty high demand. Last time they had earnings was back in the end of July. So they should probably have earnings coming up this month, probably later in the month. So I'm sure they probably end up crushing as well.
Last question from Ema, thoughts on AOUT? Ema says this is a spinoff of Smith & Wesson, like it going into election season.
AOUT?
AOUT, American Outdoor Brands.
Yeah, look at this. So I do see that it was spun off. We probably do see this run into. We've started to see some movement out of Smith & Wesson as well. So yeah, no question about it. Will see a move. It actually looks like it started to kind of break out a little bit. Finally getting up over 1470. If we can maintain that, we probably should see a nice continuation. John Carlos Scalia, welcome to level 2, my man.
Nice. All right, bro. Questions are done.
That's it, guys. Thanks for hanging out. That is the show. If you guys want to be a part of the Chaos Crew, like we said, hit the join button, get all kinds of free stuff, as well as our watch lists and access to my portfolio every single day, secret live streams, all that good stuff. And if you don't want to do that, that's cool. How about you just hit the like button on your way out? We certainly would appreciate it. We'll catch you guys tomorrow for Where I Was Right, Where I Was Wrong. And that is going to do it for me. Have a great one, guys. We'll see you later. Peace.
Bye.
Bye.